Alright, so let's cover how to bounce to disk in Pro Tools. Once you have your edits made, all your automation and all your plugins, all your audio's mixed and ready to go, you're just ready to have it exported as a file with all the effects and automation as one file. You will choose, it's called bouncing to disk. Okay, so this is different than exporting. I'm going to go over exporting in a separate video. Essentially, the main difference is exporting doesn't include all the effects that you have on your track. It just exports the clips. Okay, so bouncing the disk will render all of your effects, automation, fades, like everything that's going on here, and mix it down to your audio file. Okay. What I typically like to do is I like to select, I like to make a selection for how long I want it to be. But if you don't do that, it's just going to bounce out exactly how much audio and automation and stuff is there. So it'll stop, for this example, it'll stop roughly at 18 seconds, okay? But I typically like to make my selection there and go to the beginning, right? And bounce that so I know exactly that it stops right where I want it to. But it's whatever, that's just a personal preference of mine. All right, so when you're ready to bounce, you just go to File, Bounce to Disk. And the quick key for that is Option Command B. Click that, and it brings up this bounce dialog box here. And the first thing is you want to select the source, so the output of the audio that you want to have exported. So if you had a bunch of tracks and you wanted to export all of those tracks together, it'll be your main outputs that you have. So for me, in this instance, it's my built-in output 1 and 2. That's what I would choose here, is built-in output 1 and 2. Next, you would choose the file type that you want to do. So you can do WAV, AIFF, or MP3, and I just want to do a WAV file. You can choose to have it interleaved, or multiple mono, or summed mono. So interleaved means that if it's a stereo track, it's going to be one, like a single file, a single stereo file. If you do multiple mono, that means it's going to bounce the left and right tracks out separately, or the left and right channels out separately. And then mono is just going to sum your stereo signal into one mono file. So if you're doing stereo, I would suggest doing interleaved. If you're just doing a mono track, you can do multiple mono and just only use one channel. But for this instance, like if I'm just gonna make this up, but like let's pretend that I'm bouncing like dialogue here and then music below it. You can choose interleaved, and that'll bounce out a stereo file, so the music sounds right, and then my dialogue would be over it. Okay. And then you can choose your bit depth. Oh, ever since I've moved in here, there's been construction going on outside of my apartment for over a month. And so I'm sorry if you guys can hear that, but we're just going to have to roll with it because I got stuff I got to do. So I want to get this stuff out to you guys. All right. Okay, so we have our bit depth here. We can choose if we want to do 16, 24, 32 bit. I'm just going to leave it at 24. And we're going to choose our sample rate. I'm going to leave it at 48, but you have all of these options here that you can do, and leave it at 48. I never worry about the media poser compatibility. You can choose to add it to your iTunes library here, or you could choose import after bounce, which imports it into your session after you, like immediately after you bounce it. It'll, just like you're importing audio, it'll ask you if you want to import it as a new track or into your clip list. So if you want to do that, you can click that here. If not, you uncheck that. All right. After that, we have the ability to name our file that we're bouncing. So if once you're bouncing out the mix that you've made, you can name the file here. So I'm just going to call it my bounce. Once you have named it, you can choose where you'd like to save it here in the directory. So you click choose, and it'll bring up your Finder window, and you can choose where to save it. It automatically defaults to a bounced files folder within your Pro Tools session. So here we have the Pro Tools session I'm in. There's a bounce files folder. So that's a pretty easy way to keep track of where it goes. Just hit open when you've chosen where you want it to export. and it'll show you down here the directory right here. And then we have what's called offline, which you can check or uncheck. So up until Pro Tools 11, I believe, you had to bounce everything in real time. So it became kind of a long process, especially for post-production work, because you had to sit there and do everything in real time and just wait for it to process all the effects and all that stuff all at one time. But now Pro Tools has finally caught up with a lot of the other DAWs in this aspect, has what's called offline bouncing, and basically it runs, faster than real time, sometimes 3 to 5 times faster. It can't even be faster. It depends on the amount of processing that it has to do and all that, but it does save a lot of time to do offline. But if you're bouncing in real time, you can hear it as it's rendering. But I like to do offline and just save quite a bit of time. And when you're ready, you hit bounce. And that only took a couple of seconds, actually, just because my session's only 18 seconds long here. But if you have like an hour-long thing or 30 minutes, something like that, then it will take a little bit longer. And obviously, if you have a lot of plugins and stuff and automation going on, it'll take longer as well. But that went to my bounces folder. So let's go to my Pro Tools session here, and into bounce files. It should be right there. There it is, my bounce.wave. So if you're doing like a podcast or just vocal only or something, and you want to upload your final mix, this is the file that you would use. If you're doing video, typically what I do is I bounce out the audio here from Pro Tools, and then I take this file and then plug it into my video editor, make all the final color adjustments and things like that in my videos, and then it's good to go. We've got high quality audio, and then make the video the best looking that it possibly can, and then export that all out together. All right, guys, so that's how you bounce audio out of Pro Tools. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Like this video if you like it and it brought value to you. And thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.